relationship, but right now, I don't want to speak to him. I don't want to speak to him.
Because, Senator Cotton was saying maybe we should be limiting the amount of visas that we give to students who want to study things like quantum computing.
There are many things.
And AI.
There are many things we could do. We could do things. We could cut off the whole relationship.
This is one of the sharpest threats to date amid growing tensions with China, a prospect that could send shockwaves through the global economy. If Trump really pulled the plug on China, it would result in American business models being torn up to remaking entire industries. It could also have unforeseeable consequences, especially on China, which over the course of decade has grown into a giant under the backing of a tight-knit global economic system, led by deepening trade and investment ties with the West.
Kinds of risks. This is why when I see people say, well, America is bullying the Chinese, we're demanding of them only what we demand of every nation, right? Be transparent, be open, be a reliable partner. The very things the Chinese say they want to cooperate. Great. Cooperation is about action. It's about opening up. It's about sharing this information. So the details of where patient zero, where this began, are things that are knowledge that's in the possession of only the Chinese Communist Party.
At the Trump regime, Mike Pompeo, or I like to call him Fat Mike, has declared a media blitz against China. He's been launching attacks, and the Chinese have been firing back, calling him evil and insane. Pompeo's media blitz fits into the Trump regime's broader strategy. Trump wants to put his America First agenda at the forefront, instead of Israel First, which it has been since he took office. Trump wants to get re-elected, but will war of words against China be enough?
But I come before you today because the American people deserve to know that as we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States. China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
To tackle China's growing sphere of influence, the Trump regime are working on something called the Economic Prosperity Network. It's made up of like-minded countries, organizations, and businesses. The aim is in part to convince American firms to remove themselves from China. If a US manufacturing company can't move jobs from China back to the United States, for example, it could at least move those jobs to another more US-friendly country, such as India. If the United States chooses the option of relocating its firms from China to the United States or even in India, how will the Chinese respond? China already has started to develop more advanced technologies at home and rely less on the United States and other Western nations. Many Chinese firms have proved skillful at surviving a disagreement with the United States. Take, for example, Huawei, which once relied on American firms for many of the components of its smartphone, but now does without. So I'm not quite sure whether moving American firms from China will have that much of an impact. It appears to be too little, too late. America's baby in Western Asia is Israel. Fat Mike rushed to Israel 3 days ago to give Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a clear message: to cease Chinese investment and partnership. This is according to Israeli and US reports. We know it's serious as Mike Pompeo made a public reference of China not sharing information around the pandemic, without even mentioning China.
You're a great partner. You share information, unlike some other countries that try and obfuscate and hide that information. And we'll talk about that country too, some.
Well, the most important thing is actually generating the information and then sharing
Yes,
the information.
that's right. Democracies do both of those incredibly well.
Right.
Yes.
Americans protesting will not prevent Israel from moving ahead with China. After all, Israel only used the United States for its military power. But in current times, technology is the real currency, and China has just that. There's also little internal opposition to warmer relations with China in Israel. I looked up Pew Research Center and saw international opinion on China. A full 66% of Israelis view China favorably. For now, Israel will play both sides. After all, the United States is still the richest defense supplier across the globe, has an influential domestic lobby, and virtually a guaranteed veto of anti-Israeli resolutions at the United Nations. China, at present, offers none of them. However, as the Chinese dragon rises in technological and economic power, Israel will have to choose sides quite soon.
Another example. In Israel, every 98% of the population have computerized data, medical data. There's a little card, like a credit card, and all your medical data for the last 20 years is on it. So they know what medicine you need, what your blood pressure patterns are, what specific problems you have, what should be avoided for you. When you go into a hospital, any hospital in Israel, you have many more hospitals than we do, but imagine that any Chinese goes to any hospital and the doctor or medical personnel takes the card and immediately knows your medical record. You don't have to do all the tests again and again and again, which costs an enormous amount of money, and you can get personalized medicine, medical treatment that is geared for you personally, and makes you a lot healthier and overcome a disease much faster. So these are advantages of Israeli technology that I think could fit perfectly into the needs of China and its plans to grow and develop.
At this moment, Trump thinks the best strategy to get re-elected is to demonize China. Such an approach would drive other nations away from the United States and towards China. But maybe that's what Donald Trump wants. Who knows? After all, a lot of commentators suggest that Donald Trump has been chosen as a character to accelerate America's decline.
Military equipment at a level that nobody's ever seen before. We have no choice. We have to do it with the adversaries we have out there. We have, I call it the super duper missile. And I heard the other night 17 times faster than what they have right now. Then you take the fastest missile we have right now. You've heard Russia has 5 times, and China's working on 5 or 6 times. We have one 17 times, and it's just gotten the go-ahead. 17 times faster, if you can believe that, General. That's something, right? 17 times faster than what we have right now. Fastest in the world by a factor of almost 3.
The United States and China relationship is not going away anytime soon. Relations between the world's 2 most important countries are likely to become difficult in the next 5 to 10 years, and policymakers need to start thinking about this challenge, not just the current moment like Donald Trump. Having said that, I want to see Trump re-elected. He shows the real face of America, and I love it when evil nations fight one another.